On this one, we talk Jaylen Brown, Time Lord returns, Gallo trade targets because what's new, and of course, reasons for optimism. Next on First to the Floor.
Who was going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, layup on the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice the body.
Going in, knocked away.
Spoonie here for First to the Floor. I am with the man, the legend, as I often am, Jake Eisenberg. Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying the carnage of Celtics Twitter today. Very normal. Just a normal day on the internet for everybody.
Yeah, and so I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize in advance if I sound terrible.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even ask you how you are. How are you, mate?
That's all right, man. That doesn't matter. Nobody cares about this part anyway. So, yeah, let's get into that, man. So our flagship, our crew, Celtics blog, Jack Simone, wrote an article about Jaylen Brown today that I will say I thought was a very well-written, well-reasoned, well-researched piece. It's called The Tale of Two Jaylen Browns. If you have not read it, definitely go check it out. I would say the reaction by fans was mixed at best, maybe not so mixed. Basically, I don't want to summarize his piece too much because you lose the nuance, and I do think he had some nuance in there. I always get annoyed when people are like, well, you wrote how Kemba stinks now, and it's like, well, that's not exactly what I said, but yeah. Basically, he has written a piece that says, look, Jaylen Brown, we know he can score, he's a bucket getter, he's a great player, but he has some serious flaws to his game. Turns it over too much, he's not been a willing passer, and he's a horrible off-ball defender. So, Jake, what I'm assuming you read the piece. Otherwise, this will be a short segment. But what were your thoughts when you read this one? Where are you coming from on it?
I think it's a good. I think this reaction says more about how just the Celtics fans are kind of reacted to the first little losing stretch of the season.
Yes.
I think it may not have been Jaylen. It could have been a Marcus Smart piece, and I feel like, but Jaylen in particular is especially polarizing among fans at times. It kind of reminds me of that Joker quote. You talk about one little mare dying, and everybody loses their minds.
Right.
And you talk about Jaylen turning the ball over, and everybody loses their minds. I think with Jaylen, some of the whoopsies, they're just like so glaring, and your
visceral.
eyes visceral. Yeah, and none of us, I would never call myself a high level basketball analyst, but like when you see Jaylen fall asleep off ball or turn the ball over and it's a layup, it's like, I know that was bad. That's not how it's supposed to look. My thing is, I think the criticism of Jaylen kind of feels like he's being treated as a top 5 player, when in reality, he's not. He's a top 20-ish player. He's a number 2 on a really, really good team. And like a lot of other players have flaws as well. For example, like you can, even at the top of the list, like Embiid has serious turnover issues and decision-making issues in really high leverage situations. Luka can't play defense. Bam, I think a good parallel. A lot of Heat fans are divided on like how aggressive Bam should or should not be. It's like, can he actually be? You're at that 23, 25 point scorer, or are we just kind of asking him to be someone that he's not? Yeah. Zion, MVP level performances this year, can't play a lick of defense. Draymond even is able to be a key piece in on a championship court.
Giannis can't make free throws.
We could put together a low light reel of Giannis's air balls from the 3-point line. But I think the best comparison is Chris Middleton for a few reasons. But obviously he's the number 2 on our number 1 competitor in the Eastern Conference. And I feel like he's kind of treated as a bit more of a steady hand, a bit more consistent. But when you zoom out on Chris Middleton, you look at their finals run where they won the championship. Chris had 8 games throughout the whole playoff run where he shot less than 40%. He had 2 6 for 23 games, 5 for 16, 9 for 26, 7 for 20. Jaylen only had 4 games at shooting less than 40%. and this is going to surprise some people, I think. Middleton averaged 3.2 turnovers in his finals run, and Jalen averaged 3.1. So the turnover issues that there's Dad in the chat. That's right. We watched JB for 82 games. Exactly right. Like Brogdon's turnovers have been much worse than Jalen's at times over this stretch here. So those Middleton comparisons, I think, he's like their perfect number 2 that was able to win them a championship. You could argue that Jalen had an as good, if not better, playoff run than him just last season. So I think, we just got to cool it a little bit with the expectations on JB. It's like, he's number 2. It's okay. He's not perfect.
Yeah, and I think in the piece, again, absolutely read the piece. It's well written, well researched. And I don't necessarily disagree with his conclusions. I just think the types of things he's doing wrong are just not the type. That's right, Michael. That's right, Dad. Dad in the chat. Mr. Eisenberg says Jalen is definitely better than Middleton. I will die on that hill. Absolutely. It's like, yeah, Jalen's going to look bad when you're expecting him to be a primary creator, right? That's just not his skill set. And frankly, it's not what we've asked him to do his entire career. So he never really developed that as a young player because he kind of was born into this off-ball role, and he's always had high-level point guards and then Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum, and we've never needed him to do that. He's never really gotten those reps, and now he kind of just is the guy he's going to be at 28 or 26 years old. So it just kind of feels to me at some point, it's like you could have written this piece last year. You could have written it the year before. Like, yeah, he's bad at off-ball defense. Yeah, he turns it over a little bit too much. The one thing I will say is that the whole team has been fraught with not moving the ball quickly enough, not moving themselves quickly enough, and not playing that sort of team ball we grew to love in the first 20, 25 games of the season. So I wouldn't say that's Jaylen Brown's fault. He has contributed to it somewhat, but so has Tatum. And yeah, you brought up Brogdon. Brogdon has sneaky been, I don't want to say selfish, but forcing things maybe on the offensive end a little bit too much. And the only guy who's really, truly out there pinging the ball around is Derek White because he knows no other way to play basketball.
Mistress.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
So I don't want to seem like, I'm rejecting the piece outright or anything like that. I'm absolutely not. I think it was a very worthwhile piece to go read, go check out. At some point, it's like, to your point, Jake, we know who he is, right? Like these are just some of his flaws and we've got to accept them. And yeah, but he also drops, 26 a game on super high efficiency. Like,
he's
sometimes you take the little bit of bad with the whole bunch of good. So maybe you could probably, if there's a flaw we have, it's probably being too positive. So, we're showing that side of us.
Look, that's a good life. It's a good human trait to have, Look on the bright side of life, and be hopeful. But yeah, I think it's a fun conversation. Like it clearly gets people talking, and I think that
yes.
I think just in general, I think it's good for people to come into this with like a good faith arguments, and I think it's okay to point out that Jalen's not perfect and be like, it would be great if you could improve on a few of these things as well. Like that's an okay thing to bring up as well. I think the more important focus is just how good and how valuable he is in a league where scoring wings that most teams don't have people to guard. That's the most valuable kind of spot in the NBA.
Yeah, it's the first time this year we're flat out like winning the minutes he's playing without Jason Tatum. So he's doing something right in that way, and that's an incredibly important development that I don't think should get lost. I mean, he has improved as a player. It's just not quite in the ways maybe everybody was expecting, right? He's a killer from mid-range this year. I don't know about you, Jake, but when he gets into that mid-range, I'm just like, oh, this is too.
Yeah, money. That's why it was weird the last game. Like a few of them just kind of rimmed out, and you're like, oh, that's just his shot now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Like he has this little escape dribble. He'll be kind of around the baseline, and he'll just take one dribble and just continue fading in that direction. And I believe he's going to make that shot more than he's going to make a free throw. Granted, he's improved in that aspect as well this year. So, yeah, he's going to keep getting better. It's just the flaws that he has, I'm not sure how, they might not be something that he's able to kind of just grind out improvement-wise. But if you're able to keep expanding his games in little other ways, the overall impact is all that really matters. And we've seen that Jalen can be the second best player on a team that can win the finals. So
yeah, and I'd say the off-ball defense is frustrating in the regular season, but I don't think it's a problem that we're going to run into in Game 7 of the NBA Finals or something. Like, he's just going to be so locked in. As you know, I'm doing a one-man pod briefly here as Jake's taking care of something off the camera, but
the rubbish bins, the rubbish trucks are here.
Fair enough. But the off-ball defense, that feels like regular season problems to me. Like, when he's locked in the playoffs, that's much smaller of a problem. And when he really wants to play on-ball defense, there's few guys better in the NBA when he's truly locked in on ball. So regardless, great piece. Go read it. We love Jaylen Brown. I'm very happy he's a Celtic and he's our second best player. And yeah, I'm with you, Jake. He can be the second best guy on a championship team. No doubt in my mind. Let's get to some fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Time Lord's back.
Let's go.
Yeah. He's playing 17 and a half minutes. You comfortable with that amount, that role? He's kind of Joe's easing him into.
Yes. But man, it's I was nervous. Like, he had that play in the most recent game where he just laid out and got, like, it looked like he copped a knee in the face. Like, he's doing the Time Lord stuff where he's just flying around. Yeah. I'm like, please
stop.
Please be careful. And I know that you can't. You have to let it. If you're going to play, you're going to play. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I think 18 minutes is fine. I thought it might be a little lower in the first game, but when you see how kind of short, how small amount 18 minutes is, I think you're pretty comfortable with it. Like, it was kind of 4.5 minute stints, it felt like. And honestly, even with, taking the knee into consideration, he was just gassed in the first game and maybe and the second game as well. I'm comfortable with that amount. I'm interested to see where it goes tomorrow now, because it's great that I feel like the 2 days off came at a perfect time. You're able to really see how his body responded to the NBA games, and because that's that's the thing, you can't simulate NBA action.
No.
You can get as many shots up, you can play pickup, but then, as soon as you get out there, the adrenaline's going, the crowd's in there. The Garden was going nuts when he came back on. Like, that was such a great moment. He hasn't been gone for that long, but I think we just all love Rob so much and really understand how important and how impactful a healthy Rob can be on this team. So to see him come back and look very similar to Rob. I know that first stint, I think he picked up 3 fouls.
Very quick, yeah.
Which I think was a very, very predictable.
Yes.
Just jumping at pump fakes a little bit. But then at the same time, the second game comes to mind where, you're watching the pick and roll defense, and all of a sudden Rob just, hate to use the word teleports into the frame and just obliterates a shot at the rim. To see that is just, that's what it's all about, because that's what takes this defense that is, I think, sitting at 8th in the league right now. That goes from that to grinding teams into dust.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to the offensive sputtering in a little bit here, but defense is much more controllable than whether your shots go in or not. And having Rob back is going to go such a long way to making the defense back to top 3, top 2, hopefully top 1. And even that first stint, I think he contested a 3. The dude missed it way short, and then he got an alley-oop from Smart on the other end. And I was like, oh man, I missed this.
Yeah, I think the 3-point contests, there's nothing like it, man.
No.
In the way that he's able to, and he did bite on one that's jumping out of my mind, but he's gotten so much better. You look back on the bubble run, and he could not.
He was
defend.
Unplayable at times. Yeah.
And to see how far he's come, and he's so much more controlled, and he understands how far back he has to be. Unless it's Steph Curry, and even then he blocked a Steph Curry 3 in the finals. Guys just don't want to shoot over him, and they see him coming, and the level of impact he has versus the Cornet eclipse. There's it's a slightly different level of defensive contest.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, one is a bizarre gimmick. The other is like something we've never seen in it. Well, they're both something we've never seen in NBA
Yes.
history, just
True.
for complete opposite reasons. So, what's next, Jake? When do you expect? I mean, at some point he's going to move into the starting lineup, right? Whether that's for Al or for Grant or for Derek White. When do you move him into the starting lineup? Do you do it tomorrow night against Indy and Aaron Three Smith, the greatest shooter in the world?
Man, what a game! We'll probably get to the Pacers later, but he had a ripper game against the Knicks.
23, easy.
Yeah. I mean, compare that to what House is going through right now. But I think you just ease it in right now. I would like to see him get more minutes with Smart, just because I think, and Tatum will be back next game. I think last season those were the two guys that were probably the best at finding Rob on lobs, and I would like to give him as many opportunities to throw those down as possible. As great as Brogdon is, he's a score first point guard. The playmaking isn't something that comes as naturally to him as it does to Marcus and even Tatum, really. So that would probably be the change that I would like to see going into the next game is, have more minutes with Tatum and Smart if possible. I don't really mind if he starts or not. I just think maybe he goes up to 20 minutes in the next game and see how that goes. I don't know. What do you think? When do you bring him back to start?
I would like to move him into the starting lineup sooner than later because you got to get reps with Rob with the starters, right? Who knows when he's going to pick up another knock and go out. And the best version of this team includes Rob Williams on the floor. So the more he can play with Jalen, Jason, and Smart, the better, in my opinion. I will be very interested to see. Joe has seemed to favor smaller lineups, even running Grant at center more, I think, this season than Udoka did all last year. So I'll be interested to see if he goes back to the double bigs or not.
We saw it a little. We've seen it. He's gone to that specific lineup, at least having both Rob and Al out there. Now that you say it, like I would enjoy just maybe starting Rob, even if he comes out just before Tatum comes out. At that 6-minute mark, just because. With the way things have trended lately, I would like to get back to as the obliterating level of defense as soon as possible.
Yes.
Like, the feeling of grinding teams into dust is my favorite thing. And that was they were so good at last season was these hot starts weren't necessarily because of the offense. It was because they were just destroying people on the other end. And I think if you can bring Rob in to start these games and you really having teams caught off balance from a defensive perspective, I think that would be kind of a good way to maybe give them a little jolt that they've kind of been missing over these last couple of games.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Rob is a complete shot in the arm. You saw it with the crowd. You saw it with the team.
Gosh.
Yeah, he comes in and everybody plays a little bit harder. And yeah, we've got Eric Weiss in the chat here. Best version of this team has Rob running high handoff offense through the mid post. And
Yes.
yeah, that's feel offense, right? That's not set plays. That's you just like read each other, read the spaces, and Rob finds you. And that's why I want him in that starting lineup, even if he's only playing 20 minutes, so they can get back that chemistry because it takes a while to develop that.
Yeah, there was one play, great call by Eric here, where they give it to Rob. It was like mid-post extended, elbow extended, and Brogdon kind of came around the baseline, fake handoff, and then that kind of opened up Hauser, and Rob just found him super easily. Like, that's like the most underrated thing that's about Rob because of how much he jumps off the page athletically, but his passing is at another level for a big man. And yeah, creating those easy looks, both, people cutting to the rim and 3-point attempts, I think, let's just more Rob.
Yeah,
Always.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've probably been like the most cautious person. I'm like, start him at 12 minutes, then 16. But then as soon as the Magic games are happening, I'm sitting next to my dad and I'm like, I don't know. Like, can we push him out just a couple extra minutes? Maybe we win the game. Yeah. But gladly I wasn't in charge that day.
Yeah. He might've been fine. Who knows? Although he looked gassed, but,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how much run he gets and when he comes in, whether it's the starting lineup, first guy off the bench or what against Indy. But now that the Celtics have been sputtering, December 15th has passed. That means if we want to, we can trade the Gallo contract. So, Jake, I'm going to throw just a couple realistic trade targets at you, then one dream that will absolutely never happen.
It's my dream too.
That I think we could go at. And earlier we did some Gallo contracts because we love Gallo contract trades because we love talking about trades because we're losers. But and we were looking for centers then, right? Because we were worried about Cornette. We were worried about the big depth. And I think now with Rob back, Cornette's shown he's at least a feasible third string center. I think now it's wings, especially with Hauser in a cold streak. We just need another body, give the Jays some rest. So my first realistic target, and these are all on teams who stink, is Derek Jones Jr. from Chicago. He only makes a couple $1 million a year, 35% on threes, only 1.3 a game. Super athletic, decent defender, can make a three. Derek Jones Jr., huh?
I like Derek Jones Jr. I liked him in Miami as well. Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to see what they do here because it's clear. I kind of still personally think that, and Todd in the chat, he's on it. Like it's crazy that people are this concerned after like how well they've played for the majority of season, going back until the beginning of 2022 and the second half of last season. So it'll be interesting to see what Brad thinks of what they need, if they need anything. Because I think they kind of do have everything they need when they're playing the right way on this roster. That being said, when you are this good and you are this close to winning a championship, if you can make a mini upgrade without giving up too many assets, like can you get Derek Jones Jr. By throwing in a second? I know me and Z Gamer, we were talking in the Twitter DMs about how many second-round picks the Celtics have this year. I think we have 4 going into the draft.
Potentially, I think.
Potentially
1
4,
or 2 are conditional, but yeah.
So it's like, we already have my guy Yuhan Begaron coming over. So like, how many guys can we really? I checked his stats actually yesterday. There's a reason we haven't seen his highlights floating around potentially. But yeah, so I think if you can give up a second to get someone like Derek Jones on some of these other guys you're going to maybe list, I think bolster the reinforcements.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just regular season minutes, man. Like these guys, I think we've already seen they're kind of getting a little worn down with how fast they're playing on offense and the load the Jays are playing. So just get a wing in there that can eat some minutes. So for this next one, I'm going to Charlotte.
Shocking.
But Z Gamer in the chat, if Spoons doesn't mention PJ Washington, I'll be surprised. I'm not mentioning PJ Washington only because I've brought him up on like every podcast since the summer. So obviously I'd want PJ Washington, but this is a little more realistic. Jalen McDaniels. He's already 25. He shoots it okay from 3. He can defend a little bit. Yes, Tom, I know Neesmith put up 23 last game. I watched the highlights like 4 times. He's 25. He'll be a free agent at the end of this year. Who knows what direction Charlotte's going? They seem like they're primed for a pretty big teardown coming up here. They may think, let's just get a couple assets for this guy. He's the worst McDaniels, although he's not a bad player. I would not hate him as sort of he's a bigger wing. He's 6'9". So I think he's a guy we could probably steal from Charlotte and get some minutes out of.
Look, haven't watched a lot of Charlotte this year. Yesterday was kind of my first time getting back in now that Hayward and LaMelo are back, so I can't say I've seen a heap of Jalen McDaniels this year. But from what I've seen him throughout his career, and 6'9" guy that can do stuff. Yeah, it's just I wonder what the price is going to be because I feel like someone like that is going to be worth more than a Derek Jones type. Like someone's going to talk themselves into he's only 25. One of those guys that maybe still has a little bit of upside. Yeah, I think if they could, but again, I think, and Keith Smith, our Celtics blog colleague, not a huge fake trade guy, but the names almost aren't that important, and this is just for fun. But it's like this type of player that you think that can be got for a second round pick, whether or not that's including the Gallo contract or coming into the Wancho TPE. There's a couple of different ways they can go, and I think both of these guys, you have to be 6'7" to ride the Boston Celtics ride if you're coming in this season. And yeah, I think those two guys fit the bill.
Yeah, and then the third one is a 27-year-old on Houston, so basically a grandfather compared to the roster they're putting together. He just came back from injury. He's only played 3 games. He's shooting it pretty well in those 3 games from 3, although he is not his entire career. Jayshawn Tate, big wing, can handle the ball, can dribble, can defend a little bit. I think he'd be an interesting addition and gettable, man, because what's the point of Jayshawn Tate on Houston?
Dude, Jayshawn Tate is one of my favorite players. Like, he used to play in the NBL. This is the Australian League for the listeners. And so we always kind of keep tabs and hope that the players that come over from the NBL play really well, because it just means good things for our league in Australia.
Sure.
And Celtics fans would love Jayshawn Tate. He is like Marcus Smart level grit. He's diving on the floor, offensive rebounds, like jolt of energy. He can guard up multiple positions. Yeah, so he's 6'4", 6'5", doesn't fit the requirement.
Plays bigger than that, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say he plays huge for his size. So this is chef's kiss, great choice, Spoons. And yeah, you have to think that he's gettable from the Rockets. You like what point to like if you can get an asset back for him.
We have their second unless they're 31st or 32nd. So we could maybe give, and that's a nice second, man. 33rd, 34th. That's a nice piece. And, you know, again, he's 27. Like, what's Houston doing? They're not anywhere near competing. He's going to be like 35 by the time they're a good team. So, and
love that.
And the last one, the dream, never going to happen. We can move on very quickly. OG Anunoby.
Oh man, stop it. This would, because I'm
We'd
all
be
in.
So good.
Well, there's been a lot of chat in like the podcast sphere today. Zach Lowe was talking about him on his podcast. I know Kevin O'Connor and Verno had a big back and forth. Because the Lows and the KOCs are making it seem like the price for OG Anunoby is going to be like 4 first-round picks, and that seems a little crazy to me. Like, I know, like he is like a superstar role player, but he's a role player,
right?
So I'm not sure there's going to be a team that's going to talk themselves into giving up more than 2 first-round picks. The fake trade that I posted on the timeline today was Grant, Derek White, plus 2 first-round picks for OG Anunoby. The trade machine says that worked. I don't I'm not a scientist, so I'm not sure if that actually works with exceptions and stuff. I know Grant's restricted so that the Raptors would have to pay him, but OG's making 17. I think that's probably about the maximum side of what Grant probably ends up getting. And if you're getting 2 first-round picks, Derek White's on a good contract.
You think they could flip White if they're truly blowing it up? They could flip White for more assets pretty easily.
But yeah, we never know what the asking prices, what the real prices are for things like this. But I would be kind of willing to go pretty hard on OG, like a lineup of Rob, OG, Tatum, Jalen, and Smart.
What do you do?
Disgusting.
Or Al. I mean, with those guys, just 5 out.
Well, yeah, you go double bigs, and then it's like OG, Tatum, and Jalen. It's like, what is happening here? Because OG is kind of just like the super Saiyan elite version of Grant, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's like if the top 99.9th percentile of what Grant Williams could become is OG Anunoby. So, and plus he's got room to grow. Yeah, there's 2 good ones in the chat. Eric Weiss says Gary Trent. I think it's along the same line of thinking. Bigger wing. He can shoot the lights out, although I think he's a little down this year. Not the defensive player OG is, but I think certainly a better off ball shooter, which is what you need on this team. There's not going to be a lot of ball to go around. And then Z Gamer says old friend Javonte Green. We could actually use Gallo's contract to get Jones and Javonte because they both make such a small amount of money. So yeah, we can toss little seconds, get 2 good bench wings. I don't know. I kind of like
Tate. I love the Tatum's best friend coming home thing as angle as well. Dude, and Javonte would fit so well on this team now that we have the shooting and the spacing. Like, I feel like we saw the upside as from a role player perspective for Javonte, right? Like, hyperactive, hyper athletic, like getting in passing lanes, getting easy points off fast breaks, puts in the effort on defense, can make plays on that end as well. Yeah, I would love that. And yeah, look, now that we're talking about it, it would be nice to just have like one more guy that you can throw out there that's more a 3 than the guards that we have.
And I really like Hauser, but teams have realized they can just attack him on a closeout, and he's not going to punish him. And like Javonte, you attack Javonte on a closeout, you're getting dunked on.
Yeah.
Same things with Derek Jones Jr., although I think I don't trust Derek Jones Jr.'s handle as much as Javonte, but Javonte shoot 39% from 3 too.
Yeah, he'll take and make some wide open threes, no question. He's made a couple of them against the Celtics. This is going to be interesting. When's the trade deadline? Is it March?
It's like March. Yeah,
so
it's March.
We have, oh man, so much time. Can't wait.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's move on from the trade targets here. I think
Jackson
we had a lot of
Hayes,
good ones. Yeah, I like the Jackson Hayes from Mitchell Marshall in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. He makes almost exactly the same amount as Gallo, and he's not playing. And he showed last year he had some ball skills. He could shoot it a little bit.
Play a little 4.
Yeah, play a little 4. I think it would be good Rob insurance. So that'd be a good target too.
We didn't talk about Cam Reddish just because I remember his name was thrown out.
Yeah.
I'm not a Cam Reddish guy.
I'm not either.
Okay. But
not at all.
I get it, but
I get the thinking. It's
pretty
along
crap
the same
situations
lines.
in New York and Atlanta. You come into the ecosystem of Boston, and maybe things turn around a little bit. But
here's what I think the problem with Cam Reddish is. Cam Reddish thinks he's Jason Tatum, right?
Yes,
and that's
correct.
maybe it's not the situations. Maybe it's the Cam Reddish making the situations worse than they are. Like, I think if he would just accept his role. And who the F is Cam Reddish? Yeah, Tom, I feel you on that. He's not very good. I can give you that much. And he's on the Knicks. Don't bother looking up his highlights because there aren't many. But
they really aren't.
Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
The Celtics have lost 4 out of 5. We're both way too happy for that, Jake. But
I know.
I looked up, all right? We're hoping we're a finals contender. Are there any other finals contenders who have gone through similarly dark days, right? The nadir of the Boston Celtics season right now. Unless they lose again, then we're really in trouble. So I've got 4 teams here that I just want to, let me just throw this out at you, and then I'll give you the floor, Jake. So 18-19 Golden State Warriors, they lost in the finals to the Raptors because they got super injured. They lost 57 wins. They lost 5 out of 6 games in November and 3 out of 4 in February and March. The 18-19 Raptors won the championship, 58 wins, lost 3 out of 4, 2 different times. 17-18 Rockets, they're 27 straight missed threes away from going to the finals where they probably would have destroyed Cleveland. They lost in 7 in the Western Conference Finals to Golden State. They lost 5 games straight in December, the 20th to the 29th. And then your team, Jake, the team you've been comparing the Celtics to since this summer, the 13-14 Spurs, 62 wins, won the championship. And I kid you not, in mid to late January of that year, they lost 4 out of 5 games. So, have we lost the finals already because we lost 4 out of 5 in December, Jake?
Everybody calm down.
Yeah. That is actually the title of the blog I wrote for this episode on Celtics blog. Not kidding.
Amazing. Well, it's like, to quote the great Sam Jam Packard, the season doesn't start until after Christmas. It's like, this season is so long. And, you know, there was a Celtics blog roundtable where they kind of dived into the different levels of worry, etc. My take on this is that, you know, we know, like, this is a fact, that Jalen, Jason, and Marcus Smart win games in the NBA consistently at a high level. There is no team in the NBA that has won more games outside of the Warriors in the past, 5 years than the Boston Celtics. And that's because Jalen, Jason, and Marcus Smart, and Al Horford for the most part as well,
Right.
have been on the Boston Celtics. Now, something that we know and maybe not love about this team, though, is they are prone to falling into some bad habits time to time. It's just human nature. And, like, they're just going through one of those classic things that they do. And they always right the ship. It's a good test, I think, for them. Like Tatum, he copped a little bit of flack, I think, completely unfairly for missing one game. But he's going to come back ready to go. I think this is a team that's it's a good opportunity. It's coming at a good time to try and right the ship. It's Mazzulla's kind of first test as the new coach and going through some adversity. So I think this is it's a good test. I think it's no reason for panic because we know these guys are really freaking good and have been really freaking good for like half a decade now. Teams lose games sometimes. There's 82 of them.
Yeah, and sometimes it's almost like random when they occur, and it's weird that they occurred together like this. But, we were missing both of our starting centers for a couple of those losses. We were missing Jason Tatum for one, and we've historically been absolutely terrible when Jason Tatum doesn't play. So it shouldn't have been that big of a surprise. But, like, the Magic games, Paulo shooting like 25% from three coming into those games, went 9 of 15 in 2 games, 6 of 7 in game 2. He goes 4 of 7. That's a win, and that's still way better than his season average. Just like we weren't going to shoot over 40% from 3 for the rest of the year, we're not going to shoot 28.6%, which is what we've been shooting in this little 5-game stretch. And Rob's just getting back up to speed. You know what I mean? Like, Rob is back. He's coming back. He's getting healthy. He's going to have a huge impact on this team.
Yeah. And on this, I've got a clip here to run. This is like the second half offense against the Magic game. I think no doubt that first half against the Magic in the second game was dreadful. I think the process, it wasn't just missing shots. The process was bad. The defense wasn't good. The second half, I think they actually played well. They just missed shots. So I'm going to run this, and it's just going to kind of show you like some stuff where they clearly should have. Marcus, how many times have we seen him make this shot? He gets right to the rim, misses that left-handed layup.
On good action, hand off. Yeah, he
posting
gets
up Fultz, like wide open
Horford,
in and out. Derek White, Jalen pump fakes, gets to the rim like everybody's asking, makes a beautiful pass to Rob, who like just misses a wide open layup.
Yeah, bunny.
Yeah. Okay, this 3-on-1 fast break just should have been a layup. They opted for a transition 3, but Brogdon's been 50% from 3. It's not a bad shot. Drive, kick, Grant in the corner, just a little long. It's like over and over again, the process was good. Beautiful screen by Rob. You love to see it. Jalen wide open on a catch and shoot. It's just like
Jalen wide open on a catch and shoot again.
Beautiful offensive rebound from Smart. Jalen drives this one, finds him in the corner. Some really nice plays from Jalen actually in these clips. Clank. It's just like, and then how many times we've seen Jalen make this shot right here?
Yeah, the little
going to the
floater,
left, making that little
or get
floater.
Fouled.
Like, there was that on those alone. Like, they should just won the game. So when I went back and watched all the field goals from the second half of the Magic game, I was actually surprised. Because of the reaction, I had kind of been like, oh, that game must have been worse than it actually was. So when I went back and watched it, I was like, oh, they played well. Like, Admiral Schofield hit 3 threes or whatever it was. Like,
Right.
These things happen.
And they still only scored 95 points. With Paulo going 6 of 7 from 3 and Admiral Schofield making 3
That's right.
threes.
The Magic shot 41% from 3.
The defense was incredible that game, man. So I'm fine with the process. And actually, I've got a clip from Joe. I think you could say Joe probably agrees with us.
Joe, another tough three-point shooting night. You've liked the looks that this team's generated. How did you like them tonight? And when you're in this extended slump, do you have to kind of adjust your approach at all offensively?
I like the shots that we got. No, you don't adjust your approach.
And what do you think it is that leads? Is this just kind of a natural thing that pops up throughout the season? Are guys kind of getting down on themselves? What do you think's kind of led to this low extended slump?
I don't know. I think it's just, over the course of the season, we shot the ball so well to start that, there's naturally going to be a small decline. So we just have to, maintain our confidence and our trust. We have really good shooters, so just have to stick with it.
I love it. Brad Stevens clone. It's like,
I know.
I even said this after the Phoenix win. It's like, I'm glad I'm not one of the players or the coaches, because I'm way too high right now. And Tatum, like his post game comments post that game, like post the Warriors loss, are the same. It's like one game, one little stretch in the season is not going to make or break your season. Yeah, great call. And me and Eric were going back and forth on Twitter as well. Getting back to the way that the offense was working, you know, cutting behind switches, flip dribble handoffs with rescreening, getting back to like what was really making them an amazing offense. It wasn't just like, yes, they were shooting at a ridiculous rate, but we were amazed by how much off-ball cutting that Tatum was doing, screening that Tatum was doing. It kind of felt like the old Brad Stevens adage of just hit singles. In the last few games, it's felt like the players have been trying to like dig themselves out of this little skid, like one big three at a time.
Yes.
So I think just getting back to that. And then like, okay, this stretch has been bad, right? Last 5 games. They still have the 8th best defense. They have the worst offense in the league in that 5
By
games.
far.
But the defense has turned around. Like if you like, clearly they're going to be a good shooting team. Like they have good shooters on this team. It's going to level out somewhere in between where they were before and now. But the defense has come around the last 15 games. The defense is 5th in the league, and now Rob's back. And I think as great as the offense has been, I think that is what we all want to see. We want to see that identity kind of come back because shots are going to get missed. It's like, what can you do when your offense isn't working? To quote my dad, who was in the chat earlier, no matter how you're playing an offense, you can always play hard on defense.
Right.
Like, and I think they said this in their post game as well. It's like they're letting their offense impact other parts of their game, and that's just one, how they're playing offense, and 2, affecting. Even though they've been playing defense, I think impacting their defense a little bit as well. And so once that defense cranks up, it won't matter.
And then you get transition opportunities, and we've been weirdly not forcing turnovers. So you think at some point that's going to turn a little bit as well. I'd like to see us post up a little bit more, especially Marcus Smart. I feel like we always get good looks out of Marcus Smart posts up. So I'd be interested to see if, especially Fultz is a pretty big point guard. I think Smart could give Halliburton some fits down on the block. He's kind of a weaker, slender guy. So we always get great looks out of that. You saw the clip you just ran. Al got a wide open 3 off of Marcus Smart post up. And yeah, just Rob is like a perpetual offensive motion machine, right? You can just like run a simple pick and roll with Rob.
Yeah.
And as long as he hits that screen nice and square, it's on, dude. Like the defense has to scramble. They got to send help from the weak side to get to Rob. And then either you can just flick it up to Rob and he's dunking it, or making the right read and the right pass, and it's pinpoint on target all the time. And then all of a sudden that ball movement, that motion started. And that's just off simple pick and roll action, because Rob is that much of a destructive force as a vertical spacer. So I think Rob will help big time too. And yeah, just get back to sharing the ball a little bit more, because I do think there's been times where we've been
for sure
a little bit selfish. We fell in love with the first half decent 3 that we see, and walk it up the court faster. Please.
Yes.
Stop starting your offense with 15 seconds on the shot clock.
Yes.
Drive me nuts.
Oh my Lord. Yes. And they weren't doing that early in the season. And again, this comes back to what I was saying about the habits, right? I think, old habits die hard. And I think that, over a couple of years there, I'm going to blame it all on Kyrie. They formed a few bad habits. And that hero ball stuff. I think it's just an NBA thing in general. Like, these guys want to take some of those shots, and they look freaking good when they go down. But you hear the noise, best offense in the league, best scoring duo since Kobe and Shaq, etc. So let's just kind of get back to what was working. Do you want to do my little team confidence scale?
Take it away.
So instead of how worried we are, it's how confident are you in the Celtics still? And it's a 1 through 5 scale. 1 being the 86 Celtics, one of the best teams of all time. 08 C's, who, when I went back and was like looking through their, to find if they stumbled. No,
that
not
was
really.
Season. They win 67.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? So clear title favorite all year. I think a 3 is kind of last season, like level of confidence where if they just are a bit more poised, experienced, they maybe win the title. The bubble C's if Hayward doesn't get injured in the first round, do they make the finals? And then the 2018 Hospital Celtics rookie Tatum run. Super fun, but we know we actually can't win a title. So, where are you on the Celtics history scale?
Z Gamer's giving me guff because I said it's 66 wins. I
66,
apologize.
dude.
I gotta quit the podcast. Yeah, I think I'm probably somewhere between 08 Celtics and 21-22 Celtics. And if I had to pick, I'd say 21-22 Celtics, because I do think, one, that 08 team, they were just veterans, man. Yeah. Like, they just knew how to win basketball games, no matter the score, no matter the type of team they were playing. And that defense was so incredibly elite that it almost felt like inevitable that team was going to win the championship. Not quite as much as the 88, 86 Celtics, but, pretty close. I'm not quite there with this team. I could see them flame out in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then, if they get the Bucks in the second round, I could see us losing to the Bucks. I would probably make us the slight favorites, but it would not be a runaway. It would probably go 7. So, yeah, I'm probably much closer to last year's Celtics than I am the 08 Celtics. How about yourself, Jake?
Yeah, I think I'm in the 3+ range. Like, I think that once they get their ceiling is higher than last season's team.
Definitely.
Right? I think that's kind of pretty obvious for several reasons. Internal growth from the Jays, Grant, healthier Rob, adding Brogdon, et cetera, et cetera. That being said, I don't think they're head and shoulders above the rest of mostly just Milwaukee. I don't think there's anyone in the West that really scares me. But yeah, so I think that's where I am, and I think that's where some of the the tension and the freak out stuff comes from. Like, some of the fans is that they've kind of set their bar and expectations a little too high. It's like the Celtics aren't clear runaway title favorites, and if that's just like kind of an unfair expectation to have for pretty much any team.
Yeah.
And so I think just winning a title is freaking hard. Like, it is. It's hard. And so
runaway title favorites are like the KD Warriors, man.
Yeah.
Those teams come around, or like the LeBron Heatles. This team is not that, and that's okay. They're right there, though. I mean, they're firmly in the mix and can win a title this year, and that's all you can really ask for out of your team.
Yeah. I think what we want is to see them get back on track and continue to build the championship habits, continue to be those Kaizen warriors that Brad has, built from the ground up. And again, as I said, I think that we've been through this many times. I think around this time, like a couple years ago, this was just before COVID happened, they lost a crappy game to the Pistons, and it was in the midst of them just not kind of caring. It was that, and it was we know that they ended up winning 55 games. And even when you read those lists off of those championship teams, it's it's hard to win 60 games.
Yes.
That's just so many games. So, yeah, I think not too high, not too low. Just stick with the process, build those habits. You're going to lose some games. That's just what happens.
Yeah, and we've haven't lost many, so we're doing a very bad job of coping with it. I'll say that. Yeah. Okay, before we get out of here, Jake, 2 things. Tom said if I had $100 to spend it on the Celtics betting, I would give it to Spoons. That is a terrible idea, man. Trust me. I do not win a lot of bets. I'll say that, although I do not bet often. But anyway, Jake, real quick, the Pacers tomorrow, Aaron Nesmith, Halliburton, Miles Turner. They're kind of a fun team. I expect this to go up and down. They don't really play defense, but they do turn teams over. So they've got a horrible defense, but they're 5th in opponent turnover percentage. So what are your thoughts on Nesmith and the boys on Wednesday, and then the Christmas game day against the Bucks? Where are you at?
Nesmith and the boys. I love it. Man, I watched the Pacers against the Knicks earlier this week, and I'm just very happy for Nesmith. He's dunking and hitting some threes, and he's jumping around, tongue out, shaking his head. He's got a new hair thing going on.
He's got the hair looks great, dude.
Yeah,
he's got the mohawk going on.
Hair looks good. He's a good-looking rooster, no question. These guys are fun, and I feel like the Pacers have given us problems, even when they've been bad at times over the last couple of years. Halliburton just pulling up from deep. The defense will be tested because he is an elite pick and roll, initiator and maestro. And I think the pick and roll defense has been suspect relatively frequently this year. So that's going to be something to watch. They should be able to kind of get back on track offensively, though. I think, Halliburton, he's not Trae Young at all, but you can definitely take advantage of him down low. I know, as much as we love Neesmith, like off-ball cuts, jab steps, throw him off balance. He's going to be so hyped up. I would
he's
expect
going to throw a ball
go
into the stands.
He's going to jump into the basket at some point. He's going to be wild. So, yeah.
One thing I'd say to look out for, our transition defense has been pretty bad recently, and that's just straight effort. And Halliburton will kill you in transition. Ben Math, he flies up and down the court too, and Neesmith too. So we've got to get back on defense against this team, or we will lose the game. Anyway, before we go, Jake, Bucks, win or loss, what do you think?
Got to think they get the W tomorrow, right? 2 days off. Tatum with extra rest. Rob 2 days off. Yeah, I got to think it's a win here. They'll be pretty heavily favored tomorrow, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think tomorrow heavily favored. The Bucks, I would say it's probably about even money. I think if we get back on track tomorrow, I like our chances against the Bucks.
Yeah. No, talk about a big game. Like, especially Christmas-wise, now you've lost AD and you've lost Steph. Like, the Celtics and the Bucks are kind of carrying Christmas now at some point. And yes, the amount of, I think you used the word guff earlier. So you look that one up, but I think I got it from context clues. The amount of guff that Celtics and Bucks fans have been talking to each other since the second round of last season has been on the high level. So, that's going to be a fun day to be on Twitter if we win, and a time to get off the internet if we lose. Yeah, that's going to be. I think. I don't know. Either way, man, that's
going to be toxic. We know that. That's the one thing we know.
But like watching the Bucks Pelicans game yesterday, like people have been talking about how the Bucks have kind of changed their defensive strategy to give up less threes. They just dared Valanciunas to shoot threes all game, and he had 37 points, and he was 7 for 10 from three. It's like any chance Bud gets to like leave a valve open and like over guard one other way, he kind of takes it. Yeah, so Brook in that drop, I think the Celtics have kind of proven throughout several years now that we're kind of able to score on the Bucks, and we've had some of our best shooting nights against the Bucks over the years. So hopefully it's one of those nights where it's just a freaking avalanche of threes.
Tomorrow night would be a nice night to refine the shooting stroke. I'll say that. So.
Be.
All right, Jake, that's going to do it for this one. Love your work, man. Thanks for joining us, everybody in the chat. That was fun, lively chat. We appreciate it. First to the floor, out.